Hoş gelmişsiniz. Доброе утро, добро пожаловать, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. My name is Larry Sherwin. I'm with the Communications Department, and one of my functions is to ensure that everything is timely, which we've already passed the time, so we'll try to catch that up. We have a fascinating day of discussion and networking possibilities for all of you. Just a few announcements before I announce our first guest. Speakers should please meet their co-panelists in the meeting room 20 minutes before each panel, or see the secretariat, and the panel discussion rooms are across the coffee bar area. We do have simultaneous interpretation, and at the end of what should be a fascinating day, there will be buses leaving for a fabulous concert and reception at Guild Hall, so you won't want to miss that. So without further ado, let me invite Lord Mayor Alan Yarrow to the podium.
Chairman, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to join you for the third Caspian Corridor Conference, building on the brilliant event held last year at the London Stock Exchange, highlighting the growing relationship between London and the Baku Exchange, the Kazakhstan Exchange and the Bursa Istanbul, and the other trading centres of the Caspian region. It's great to be here at the EBRD and reflect further on the UK's important partnership and engagement with the whole of the Caspian region, comprising some of the fastest growing and most vibrant economies in the world. In due course, we'll hear in more detail about the recent regional economic advances, which are presenting greater economic opportunity. As the Lord Mayor of London, I look forward to hearing the views of the business on the ground. One of my jobs is to speak to and for British business. I'll lead British businesses to nearly 30 countries this year, emerging markets whom UK financial, professional and business services can support, in particular to develop and strengthen the physical and financial infrastructure and sustain modern market economies. With this in mind, I'll be visiting Baku, Azerbaijan, accompanied by a delegation of senior British business leaders this May. Their specialism will span financial and related and professional services, energy, oil and gas, manufacturing, infrastructure and agriculture. Key areas where UK and Azerbaijani companies can work together to drive growth and prosperity. A Lord Mayor last visited Azerbaijan in 2009, and much has changed in those intervening 6 years. And my delegation and I will be eager to see and realise the opportunities in Azerbaijan and surrounding Caspian countries. That's why it's fantastic to be here today, exploring engagement thus far and what more can be achieved. May I also take this opportunity to thank the International Bank of Azerbaijan for hosting events of the visit, providing a crucial forum for discussion and useful insight into how UK financial and professional services can add value. We want Caspian companies to tap into the liquidity and capital of the London markets and expertise. A truly global financial centre, home to over 250 foreign banks, which hold nearly half the UK's banking assets. There are over 22,000 foreign-owned companies operating in the UK, and we continue to see a fifth of the world's cross-border bank lending in the UK, and we are the largest exporter of financial services in the world, more than double than any of our nearest competitors. We remain the #1 destination for foreign direct investment in Europe, and we're ideally placed to further Azerbaijan's potential and potency as a gateway for the region. Ladies and gentlemen, we all recognise the challenges and experience by the Caspian countries in recent months and the impact of the oil price and of sanctions. These cannot be ignored. And in Azerbaijan and in Kazakhstan, they're not being ignored. While oil and gas remains a dominant force in their economies, there's also a significant diversification agenda underway. This agenda and fiscal responsibility is an important factor in delivering long-term investor confidence, creating the right environment for international business. In Azerbaijan, the impact of falling oil prices has been mitigated in part by a stronger performance in the non-energy related industries. Non-oil GDP, including construction, agriculture, transport and communication centres, grew by 7% in 2014, whilst the oil-related GDP contracted by 2.9%. This is a very positive development, and we in the UK want to support the economic diversification of the Caspian region, supporting stable and sustained economic development. I've just returned from a trip to the Gulf, and I went around 7 countries in the Gulf. And the topic of conversation was not only the fact the oil price had fallen very rapidly and the Swiss franc had actually risen quite sharply, but it was specifically looking at the idea of what impact the oil revenues had had on those countries. And I heard 6 people say, independently in different countries, the expression of the curse of oil. And the reason by quite simply saying that was saying that it stopped the countries from diversifying away from hydrocarbons. And there are skill gaps appearing everywhere in countries which have relied too much on hydrocarbons. Today's conference occurs at a timely juncture, fueling the debate between all countries in the Caspian corridor, and the UK in particular, a debate which will gain momentum in the months to come and will be continued during my visit to Baku in May. I would welcome all participants in today's conference to scar my visit programme, identify any meetings or summits which would be beneficial to join. Please contact my programme manager, Philip Jordan, who's sitting here. He's going to stand up. Doesn't know it, he's going to. That's Philip, for further details. Meanwhile, may I thank everyone who's had a hand in staging this forum, the conference organiser, the International Bank of Azerbaijan, and in particular its visionary chairman, Jahangir Hajiev, and also Asia House, the British Azerbaijan Business Council, and the City UK, supporting this important event for 3 years. Finally, thank you to every participant from Azerbaijan and the Caspian countries, trusted and reliable partners for UK business. Thank you.
So it's a great pleasure to welcome Enzo Quattrociocchi, who is the Secretary General of the EBRD, to the podium.
Good morning. My Lord Mayor, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to welcome you all to the EBRD on the occasion of the 3rd Caspian Corridor Conference, which we are very pleased to host here in our headquarters, and as the Lord Mayor just reminded us, is organized by the City UK, the International Bank of Azerbaijan, the Britain-Azerbaijan Business Council, and Asia House. This event builds upon the previous successful conferences, which were held at Lancaster House in 2012 and the London Stock Exchange in 2014. This year's conference, bringing together government ministers, policymakers, representatives of the business community, senior practitioners, academia, and other shareholders, focuses on building a safer, diversified energy and economic corridor from Europe to Asia. It is a theme of particular relevance since it encompasses the challenges related to the ever-evolving global energy landscape, the transportation infrastructure linking up Europe and Asia, and the energy potential of the region. It is also a theme embracing business opportunities and the growing role of the Caspian region in energy diversification and energy security. It is a fact that the Caspian Corridor conferences have established themselves as unique platforms where business representatives and policymakers from the UK and the Caspian region exchange ideas and proposals on how to foster developments and address existing challenges. As many of you are aware, the EBRD acts as an investor in the region, and our projects are designed to promote a market economy, more free trade and business opportunities, cross-border investment, and increased regional cooperation. More specifically, the EBRD is engaged in investing in different sectors, notably infrastructure, energy, manufacturing, and finance. And we are tapping into the potential of the City of London, a global financial capital, to attract investment from all corners of the world for the benefit of our country's operations. May I take this opportunity to flag another important event which will take place in the region, the EBRD annual meeting. In May, the bank will hold its annual meeting in Georgia, in Tbilisi, which is a crucial transit hub linking the Caspian region to the west. I would be particularly pleased to see many of you in Tbilisi this year, as your contribution to the various business panels would be invaluable and enriching. Let me conclude by saying that on behalf of the bank and of the BRD President, Suma Chakrabarti, I wish the conference the greatest success. I'm convinced that it will be a day of stimulating and enlightening discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Enzo. Could I ask Michael Lawrence, CEO of Asia House, to say a few words?
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Michael Lawrence, Chief Executive of Asia House. I'm not Sir John Boyd, the Chairman. I open by bringing his apologies for not being here. Unfortunately, Sir John had a slight accident and is now in hospital and unable to attend. I spoke to him last night. He's in very good spirits, but deeply disappointed he can't be here, and asked me to pass on his regrets and best wishes for a successful conference. Asia House produces scores of events throughout the year, and the Caspian Corridor Conference really is one of the highlights. The Caspian region, as you already heard, is one of enormous opportunity and enormous significance in an ever-changing world. But it's not as widely reported as perhaps it should be, and certainly not as widely understood as perhaps it should be. The Caspian Conference elevates the profile of the region. It stimulates discussion, debate, and it drives closer cooperation and greater understanding, which is a core part of the mission of Asia House. Now, we're fortunate enough today to have an extraordinarily impressive list of speakers, decision makers, influencers, thought leaders, experts, and they're going to share their insights with us. My thanks to all of you for attending and for taking part in the Caspian Corridor Conference. I'd like to also finally express my gratitude to the International Bank of Azerbaijan, who is a great supporter of Asia House and really is taking the lead on shining a light on the Caspian region for Britain and for Europe. It does an extraordinary job, and it's my great pleasure to be part of it. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure and an honor to introduce Dr. Hajiev, Chairman of the International Bank of Azerbaijan, to the podium.
My Lord Mayor, Secretary General Quadrakioke, Minister Aliyev, my lords, ladies, distinguished guests, and friends, it is a great delight to join each of you for the third Caspian Corridor Conference under the auspices of the EBRD, an organization that has made a singular difference in the course of economic development policies and priorities for each and every country in the region. It is provident that we are able to meet on the eve of important visit to the region, including the EBRD own annual meeting in Tbilisi in mid-May, as well as the Lord Mayor's visit in late May, and even the European Games in Baku this summer, as Europe reconnects with the southern westernmost peninsula on the Caspian Sea. We meet at a time when every week, sometimes every day, the energy and infrastructure landscape emerging between Western Europe through Turkey to the Caspian region nations of the Southern Caucasus and Central Asia is undergoing historic, unprecedented change. Long a hub between East and West for business and culture, Azerbaijan has tried to become a positive enabler and economic game changer as anchor and author of the Southern Gas Corridor of the TANAP and TAP pipeline that will help diversify European energy suppliers. From a business perspective, however, we know that these developments position Azerbaijan and the region as enablers of a secure, diversified economic that will empower regional and extended neighbors with a growing economic opportunity, a diversified supply chain of goods and services, and enable broader trade interregionally and globally. Long discussed and long financed, we are happy to be seeing the fruits of efforts to build or rebuild the rail links, the new seaports, and the growing financial center that we hope will raise the standard of living and quality of life in the region, and its neighbors. The Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railroad that will soon link Baku to eastern Turkey and on to London for the first time in a century is a powerful symbol of the renewed corridors of trade between the Caspian Sea and Europe. But the larger scale development of Kazakhstan's rail and commercial routes from China to Europe, with the first successful test around Beijing, Spain, completed this month, is yet another symbol of the accelerating scale of business and commerce ahead. There is much work ahead, but it's moving and much of it bankable. We have been fortunate to engage the extraordinary talents of the UK's and Europe's most able professional cadres to bolster and embolden that process, and the Caspian Corridor becomes the conduit of trade between East and West and brings back to the life the multi-ethnic, multinational caravanserai culture that spanned the lucrative 4,000-mile Silk Road for 400 years. The Caspian Corridor Conference combines similar London caravanserai of businesses, leaders, and political stakeholders. This is a meaningful day also because, like the launch of the 2012 launch of the Caspian Corridor Conference at Lancaster House and at the London Stock Exchange in 2014, we have been able to bring good ideas and goodwill to life on this platform for business and policy stakeholders. 2 years ago, we began talking about a new British technology to capture and harness the gas lost in industry practices of flaring and to effective capture and recycle these for the profit and positive environmental impact. Last year's terms of agreement between Compact GTL and the government of Kazakhstan and Kazakh Oil, October province, is moving to contract and implementation and will be signing before lunch today. As EBRD president said in his Davos panel with several Caspian heads of state, we need more cross-border deals and investments. With this conference, we hope to advance the same goals and encourage our UK partners to spend more time in the region. We are grateful to the EBRD for being host and for the presence and support of the Lord Mayor. We have been fortunate for the guidance and support of the Prime Minister Envoy to the Caspian region, Professor Charles Hendry, whose contributions to the Caspian region and London are nothing short of historic. The City UK has been an unrivaled partner, and we are grateful to Asia House for the continuing support. This is, however, an important empty seat beside me. That is for Baroness Simons, whose work as a central pillar of the Caspian Corridor Initiative since its very beginning is inseparable from its growth and success. We thank her for extending her commanding expertise on the Middle East to our region and the BBC mission, as it is the UK co-chair. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Hajiev. Could I ask Gary Campkin, Director of International Strategy at the City UK, to say a few words?
Thank you very much, my Lord Mayor, Secretary General, Your Excellencies, my Lords, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure for me to be here representing the City UK as a supporting partner for this year's conference, as we have indeed been for the two previous conferences here in London. The countries of the Caspian Corridor have enormous potential for the UK's financial and related professional services industry. It's an industry which, as you know, plays a central role in creating jobs, driving economic growth, and converting the opportunities presented in the emerging markets of the Caspian region, which make it a prime destination for investment and development, as well as a growing source of inward investment into the UK. At the beginning of February, I was lucky enough to be in Baku to speak at the Azerbaijan Banking and Finance Forum. Many of the issues that were raised there throughout 2 days of discussions really highlighted the essential ingredients for a stable and sustainable economic development and investor confidence. One after another, speakers were able to point to progress in Azerbaijan and across the Caspian region. And a key theme that I want to highlight this morning in relation to the region is based around the development of regional and international finance centres, which the United Kingdom, the City UK and its membership, which I'm delighted to say includes the International Bank of Azerbaijan, where we have significant experience and expertise to contribute. My big impression from the discussions in Baku was the focus on the progress in capital market development, corporate governance, and the introduction of the principles of English corporate law and dispute resolution. And also, as has already been mentioned by previous speakers, the need for a credible diversification agenda away from reliance on oil and gas. There was also a clear recognition on the importance of developing the country's human capital, in particular the economic value of providing international standards in education, training, professional qualifications, a subject which I know is very close to the Lord Mayor's heart. All of these factors underpin a diversification agenda and are now being viewed as a political imperative and a strategic aim of government in the countries of the Caspian region. In addition to my visit to Azerbaijan, I was lucky enough recently to meet the Prime Minister of Kazakhstan when he was in London recently. His presence confirmed the agreement the City UK entered into in Almaty in November 2014 under the UK-Kazakhstan Intergovernmental Commission to work directly with the National Bank of Kazakhstan on the development of Almaty as a regional financial centre. These relationships are as important to the UK as they are to our international partners. They open markets, they offer access to new skills and talent pools, and equally important, they cement an increasingly important strategic relationship. In Baku, during the Lord Mayor's visit in June, the City UK, the International Bank of Azerbaijan, and the London Stock Exchange Group will continue to develop these relationships with the Business Forum, and I'm delighted to say the Lord Mayor has agreed to attend that as part of his programme. One thing which, again, I think is going to be very important as we discuss issues that we can work together on is the development of Islamic finance. And again, I know from discussions with colleagues in the region that Islamic finance issues are a particular focus and part of that rich tapestry of developing the regional financial centres. It used to be the case that factors such as location relative to time zones, language, rule of law, culture were the essential component parts of any competitive offering for a financial centre. They remain important, of course, but they're no longer the full story. Regulatory and supervisory coherence, a regime that is fair, transparent and proportionate, a business climate that facilitates innovation of products and ideas, a fiscal policy that's clear, consistent and competitive, openness to foreign investors, and deep pools of talent are all important factors too. Across the Caspian region, what I'm hearing, what the City UK is hearing, is that the focus is also on those issues, and I think that creates significant opportunity for the partnership. Finally, this conference, I think, acts as a benchmark to progress that is now taking place, and I commend the organisers for their vision in gathering so many leaders, policymakers and practitioners together to discuss the next steps for the Caspian region and for the region's close relationship with the UK. Thank you very much indeed.